didn't have a great reading month by my standards, but I did finish 5 books, and they're by 5 totally different people. Like, it doesn't even make sense. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. But I did sort of get a lot of business-related stuff done. I made some progress there, kind of just moving my business forward, getting organized. I had some good social media growth, which is pretty decent. But this video will be all about the books, so we'll save the business stuff for later. We'll start with the first one, which is The 6 Habits of Growth by Brendon Burchard. I read High Performance Habits, also by him, a little while ago, and it was excellent. Everything that he puts out is of exceptionally high quality. You get exactly what you would expect. He actually over-delivers in this book, I think, and it's maybe a little bit too life coachy for me, but the 6 habits are motivation, focus, confidence, energy, purpose, and leadership. And those are all habits. You don't tend to think of them as habits, but if you embody those qualities, it becomes your waking state. The next book on the list was The Financial Mindset Fix by Joyce Marter, and it was one, it was actually sent to me by her. She's a wonderful woman, and even if you do have this sort of financial stuff handled, it's still worth reading. It's actually like unintentionally a business book too, because she runs a really successful therapy practice. I think, well, she sold it. There's like a whole bunch of business lessons dropped throughout the book as well, as she's helping you, solve these financial problems and sort of get your head around this, your money situation, whatever it is. It's extremely helpful, extremely wise, practical, and I was really impressed with it. I didn't have low expectations, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I actually did, so I can highly recommend this one. The next book was another one that I listened to on Audible, and you can get a free book down in the video description here, but it was Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by 50 Cent, and again, you should not be surprised by how great this book is. Anybody who's able to come up from basically nothing to rise to, become a high-powered studio executive, he is in charge of $1 million budgets of major TV networks. He's actually not stupid and far from it. And this book is evidence of that. And there's another book that he actually co-authored with Robert Greene that I loved. It's called The 50th Law. You probably know Robert Greene from the 48 Laws of Power, and obviously one of 50 Cent's favorite books. And they co-authored The 50th Law, which is Be Fearless. And it was just excellent as well. I read it maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was surprised at how good that book was, but that was the last time that I made the mistake of underestimating 50 Cent as an author. So this one was really, really good. What kind of stuck out for me as well was how similar his thinking is to this other guy, Alex Becker. He's got another, one of my favorite books. It's called The 10 Pillars of Wealth. And the similarities between those two. Now, Becker, he just sold his software business for $110 million, right? And obviously 50 Cent's doing whatever he does and doing it really well. But where they think just completely the same way, they're two different people, but where they're similar is that they take complete and total personal responsibility for everything. Nothing is anyone else's fault but their own. And that's just it's interesting that two people who've achieved this level of success think in the exact same way. They're not blaming, their parents or where they grew up. Or people that maybe screwed them over somewhere. They're not blaming any of that. It is radical personal responsibility, and I'm not saying that they didn't get lucky in certain cases. Obviously, both of them did, but then again, they also worked exceptionally hard. But it's just interesting, and you see the same sort of mindsets being adopted by similar people in similar situations. It's not an accident that they got to where they are. A large part of it, yes, luck, circumstances, all these things. And if you can adopt those mindsets for yourself, you'll stack the probabilities in your favor of getting to a similar place yourself, or whatever success looks like for you. Switching gears again, in just going a completely opposite direction, we've got the 4th book that I finished last month, which was Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. Now, Jonathan Franzen actually killed someone. It was on page 763 of his book, but I had to take an Instagram break in order to regroup. Franzen's one of my favorite living writers, and even though this one's long, it was 845 pages. I read the corrections a couple years ago, and it was 700 pages or something. These are long books. They're challenging reads, sort of, but the sentences just flow so easily, and you effortlessly just carried along by this book, by this story, and just the cliffhangers that he puts in, like the story structure. He's just incredible writer, and I think I mean it's a little bit sort of like highbrow literary fiction, basically, similar to Don DeLillo, if you've heard of him, but it's absolutely worth reading. It was really, really good. And if you're in the mood for like an 800-page book, which I get that not everybody is. I also realized that I told you nothing about what the actual book is about, so I will put a little bit of a brief summary in the video description, just a few lines about what the book is about. I do highly recommend it. All 5 books that I finished this month were really good, so I'll put short descriptions in the description. But moving on, we've got the only physical book that I read last month. It's called The Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes. And I've been a big supporter of Lewis's for a long time. I think his podcast is great, The School of Greatness. He's actually got a book by that name that I read years ago, really enjoyed. He's got another one called The Mask of Masculinity, which I haven't read. I'm not terribly interested in it, but this one is really, really, really good. He discusses 3 fears that a lot of people have. And first one, a lot of people, obviously, fear of failure. Nobody likes it. It holds a tremendous amount of people back. For obvious reasons. Another obvious one is the fear of judgment, but one fear that's somewhat less obvious is the fear of success. And you wouldn't think that that's a thing. Like, how could you be afraid of the thing that you say that you want? Everybody wants to be successful in the thing that they're doing, or do they? Being like once you're successful at something, your life will inevitably change. Now, many times this can be for the better. As I've grown my business, I've become literally more successful in all sorts of ways. But it's been a big change, and I've had to switch my entire life around. The way that I spend my days is entirely different. The people that I spend time with, completely different. Just everything about my life is different. It had to change. And so this is a legitimate fear that a lot of people have. And this book will help you overcome it. One thing that I'll say about it is that there's something practical that you can use on almost every single page. A lot of books on mindset contain a lot of fluff and sort of empty motivation and like cheerleading and stuff like that, maybe it makes you motivated for, a couple hours or a day, but that stuff doesn't really last. And the difference between that, or like books like that, and The Greatness Mindset, and even Joyce Marter's book, The Financial Mindset Fix, both of those books are insanely practical, and like it's full of stuff that you can actually do right now that will make your life better in all sorts of ways. And so both of those books are ones that I can highly recommend. So those are the 5 books that I finished last month. This month in May, I pledge to do better. I've already finished a couple really good ones. So I'm gonna finish more than 5 books. As a matter of personal pride, I have to. So it's who I am. Like, what kind of book reviewer reads 5 books a month? Nobody. And next month, I'll do another reading recap for you guys. But until then, I recommend that you watch this video right here, which is about obsession. My 2 obsessions: reading books, working out. Those 2 obsessions have made my life infinitely better. And if you have an obsession yourself, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about in that video. So I hope you like it. And hey, happy reading.
To do something great, sacrifice is a part of it. It's just the start of it. You can't start and quit. You have to harness this, cause energy is bliss. And when I swing, I miss, but then I swing and hit. So I'ma swing again and I'ma swing again.